Hello to you all, Millie Lloyd. Hope everyone is having a good day. It's Old School Gamer 1971 with my top 10 for beat 'em ups one-on-one edition. If you would, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Spread the word as it makes the channel grow and puts a big old smile on this old face. Post your list down below in the comments. I look forward to reading them. Number 10, Ye Are Kung Fu. Came to the arcade in 1985, Amstrad CPC in 1985 and was developed by Konami. In this game you take on several fighters of varying difficulties and styles. Now don't get me wrong, this is for the Amstrad CPC, so by today's standards this might not look at all quick nor that groundbreaking, except for that this was years before the likes of Street Fighter. This was one of the first games I got for the Amstrad, and certainly I got hours of fun out of the game. Taking 4 minutes to load, at the time it felt worth it. Now it seems simple, but at the time it was more than a little accomplished. With no choice of characters and steep difficulty curve, it was difficult for the time. Whilst dated at the time, it was cutting edge. I wish sometimes developers now had the same imagination when it comes to the one-on-one beat 'em up. Number 9, Barry McGuigan's Boxing. Came to the Amstrad CPC in 1985 and was developed by Activision Mastertronic. So the boxing game holds its position. I often find it funny when retro gaming, we often look for realism in games nowadays, and if it doesn't look like it, we write the game off. In the good old days, it was as good as it got when it came to boxing wise. With ideas that latter boxing games and beat 'em ups would use, training your boxer, improvement of stats and distance from the fighter dependent on the punch. Now I get these are only rudimentary versions of these beat 'em up traits, but they were all tried and tested here. And whilst it doesn't look action packed now, back then it was pulse racing action. I still play now and again. But I am glad for games like this, not just because they trailblazed their way onto home computers, but because they sowed the seeds of reason. I am still a gamer today. Number 8, Ballerina Shinden. Came to the PlayStation in 1995 and was developed by Tamsoft. When I first got my PlayStation, this was free with the console. This, Jumping Flash, Tekken and Rig Racer. Gotta love me some Dixons. Toshinden was a weapon based one-on-one beat 'em up. It spawned 3 sequels, all of which I enjoyed greatly. It was like a happy medium between Street Fighter and Tekken. What I mean is it had a lot more moves reminiscent of Tekken, but with the fireballs of Street Fighter. Whilst not as graphically pleasing as the original Tekken, it was more than a little fluid and faster. Unfortunately, it never was viewed as a great beat 'em up. However, for me, it was more than above average launch title. This game came out years before the likes of Soul Calibur and the original Dynasty Warriors, which was a one-on-one beat 'em up. And I do look forward to trying to hunt down a copy when the PlayStation 5 gets backwards compatibility with PlayStation 1 games. Number 7, Fight Night Round 3. Came to the PlayStation 3 in 2006 and was developed by EA. Okay, it might become more than a little obvious, but I do like me some boxing games. This to me was the last decent boxing game. I found Round 4 in Champions were just not as good. With the right analog stick as the punch, it gave you so much control. This was great to play and to look at. Whilst it didn't have as many recognised fighters as say Knockout Kings or Champion, it didn't matter. You took your fighter as a nobody and took them to the championship, or fight a recognised fighter against fighter or weight class against weight class. The creator boxer was also good, making you look like you wish you looked. Of course I'm 6'8", full head of hair and better build than Anthony Joshua. I'm none of those things, but my fighter was. I miss these games, EA. Bring them back. Number 6, Mortal Kombat 2. Came to the arcade in 1993, SNES and Mega Drive in 1994, was developed by Midway, Probe and Sculptured Software. I remember going to Ericsson's to play this, playing this and eating eggy bread. Nothing better. People used to buy a game, not people like me or Ericsson or anybody else, and they'd swap the sticker. Oh, that's bad. On the cartridges and take them back. Now if you were pro, not that I know anything about this, you would also lift up one of the metal strips so it wouldn't work. How many birthdays I had in 1 year where my nan had bought me the wrong game. So can I please have something else instead? So let's get back to the game at hand. This was one hell of a game, and also tough at the same time. Getting the fatalities down was as tough as you like. No buying them on the internet in those days. I always found this game a lot more tougher than Street Fighter. And whilst I might not play these games anymore, I always remember those days. There was this, Super Metroid, oh, and don't forget the eggy bread. Number 5, WWE Shut Your Mouth. Came out for the PlayStation 2 in 2002 and was developed by Ukes. Okay, there is something special about these games, even more so if you had a multi-tap. Let's go a little further. Also friends who like wrestling. Then at some point it becomes a rule that someone else has to make you and how you look and make you into a wrestler that you have to use. Then you start the 6-player fun. Take matches, elimination chambers, the Hell in a Cell. The fun was endless. Trying to stack a table on a ladder in the ring whilst your partner sets your opponent up on the announcer's table to drop an elbow onto your opponent was just one of the stupid ideas that made this game so much fun. We breezed over the Creator Wrestler earlier, where your friends have a warped mind and when all of a sudden it's not so much a deadly battle royal, more of a Rocky Horror convention. Number 4, Victory Boxing. Came to the PlayStation in 1995 and was developed by Victor Interactive. This is a game I once bought as part of a job lot. I had no idea what it was. I loaded it up and was very happy with what I saw. Then I started to play it. This game came out a long time before Knockout Kings and it had no famous fighters. What it had was gameplay and good game mechanics. I like your stats start to drop off later in your career due to age. You can tell the difference when you train your boxer to not training your boxer. Even the weight classes fight different. Now don't get me wrong, many games since have exceeded this, but this to me was such a step up, and many games after this did borrow from this game. I liked how some of your fighters moved up ranks with you. One of the fighters in particular becomes your nemesis throughout your career. This was all good, and hope one day we get a boxing game of the same calibre. My number 3, Virtua Fighter 4, came to the arcade in 2001 and the PlayStation 2 in 2002, and was developed by Sega. I really liked this game. It was the first Virtua Fighter that came to the PlayStation after Sega switched from being a console developer to being a developer and publisher. This game was novel in controls, and when compared to other games like this, yes it is a one-on-one beat 'em up, but it holds its head high in a sea of beat 'em ups. Virtua Fighter did come before Tekken, and maybe Tekken took its crown, but this game had its own niche. Its combat is the basis for both Shenmue and Yakuza. It is a pity that they stopped making these games. They've shown such innovation in the genre, but there is a little bit of good news. This game, Virtua Fighter 4, is available in the arcades in Yakuza 6. This is a great way for those arcade games to be immortalised in another game. Come on companies, do the same. So my penultimate entry, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, came to the SNES in 1994, arcade in 1993. Street Fighter 2 was one of those games where on a Saturday morning you could guarantee a line of 50p's, winner stays on. How many hours were whiled away on this game? At home you would try all the characters, get those moves down. I can remember visiting friends' houses and bringing my own controller, as did friends when visiting my house. No one would want to use that visitor's controller. Would either be an old battered controller or an unofficial controller. The game was the first of its kind on home console and proved that an arcade fighter fitted the home console like a glove. But it was the conversion and controller layout that made this game work, as the specials were as easy on the controller as they were on the joystick. And my number one, Tekken 3, came to the arcade in 1997, the PlayStation in 1998, and was developed by Namco. Tekken was a game you thought you was good at until you met somebody who had mastered the game. I can remember going to a friend's house and he asked me to play Tekken with his 5-year-old daughter. I said, "Mick mate, don't worry, I'll go easy on her." So we start to play and I start my lesson. It was the bit where she turned to me and says, "When I do this combo, you can't even defend," without even looking at the controller. Having lost 12 matches on the trot, she said the infamous words, "Good game," and added, "You nearly beat me a couple of times." I know I'd used those lines a few times to let down my opponents easy. Watching really good players playing the game is astounding. I only ever played to unlock and watch those endings and then for a bit of fun. I need to get the latest Tekken. With all the Tekken games that came after, including the tag games, nothing has ever come close to Tekken 3. Well, that's about it for me today. If you like this list, there is plenty more content like this on my channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. Old School Gamer 1971, signing off.
Green Arrow, what was that? Thunder of the Gods.